I've never really known what women have been talking about, saying as they get older they kind of
Yeah.
disappear,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to let that happen for me or for anybody else. So this project came out of that, of just wanting to just put us all out there, and I think I'm very aware that in the acting industry that the things that happen to all women, I think, happen, that they're magnified. It's never been about what somebody looks like, it's about who they are. And that's why I gravitated to photographing well-known people, because when I was first moving into photography, I thought, well, how's anyone going to know if I've taken a good picture or not?
Yeah.
But if you photograph someone who's well known, then everyone's going to say, "Oh gosh, yeah, you've got Terry Wogan right there. You know, you've caught him. You've got the essence of him." So that's actually why I photograph well-known people. And so as a result of that, I had pituitary surgery. I've only got half a pituitary. I had my adrenal glands removed, which are essential for our survival. So now I live in a situation where I'm having to replace essential steroids to stay alive. And then a few years after that, in my mid-40s, my heart condition that I had when I was 12 came back to haunt me, and I went into heart failure.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to How to Have Extraordinary Relationships podcast with me, Lucy Cavendish, author and therapist. And I'm delighted today to be with the photographer Lucy Sewell, who's recently had a set of images of visible women at the Battersea Arts Centre, and that's now going to be lots of other places. And she did a very famous, so is that the right word, portrait of Tamsin Outhwaite, looking sort of powerful, and she's photographed Juliet Stevenson, and Dame Harriet Walter did an introduction, the three witches that have been refashioned. It was very brilliant and moving. Also had done a lot of photography of horses, and has a whole relationship with horses, and also is going to talk to us today about her journey through health that has lasted a lifetime. So welcome, Lucy. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Hi, hello, Lucy. We're going to have trouble with two Lucys, aren't we? Knowing which one's talking.
Lucy, yes.
Yeah.
So tell us about the exhibition. I know it's finished at the Battersea Arts Centre, but tell us about the exhibition, because I was unfortunately not able to go because I wasn't here, but you sent me the reels to look at. It looked amazing. So tell us a bit about that.
It was there for just under a month, and it actually began before that at Frome Photo Festival. It came out of a few years. I mean, I've been photographing important and famous people, however you want to call them. I dislike the word celebrity, but that does get used. I've been doing that for about 20 years. And a couple of years ago, I came to redo my website. And I looked through all of my archive and realized that only about 10% of the people I have been sent to photograph in the last 20 years have been women.
Wow.
Which is really shocking, actually.
Yeah.
In fact, I did a big project in the music world, and I had 30 of the most prominent creators of music to photograph in the British music industry, and only 2 of them were women, which is so I thought, I began to wonder, am I just reinforcing this inequality through my work? Or should I try and do something about it? So that's when Visible Women came about. And I have never felt invisible in my life.
Yes.
I don't feel invisible now. I've never really known what women have been talking about, saying as they get older they kind of disappear. And I'm not going to let that happen for me or for anybody else. So this project came out of that, of just wanting to just put us all out there, and I think I'm very aware that in the acting industry that the things that happen to all women, I think, happen, that they're magnified for women who act, and they have it in the extreme, and they're the ones who actually tell all our stories. And I think our stories get better, and we get stronger and more powerful as we go into sort of middle age. And why aren't those stories being told? That's the question. And so I met with I think the first person I photographed was an amazing woman called Dawn Hope. And she sent me on to someone else and someone else. And then I've had 10 of the most extraordinary women to photograph. So one went to another, and now I have more. So we're going on to more things. It's growing and getting bigger and better.
So it's interesting because I always think that the gaze of the camera is always on women. You know, perhaps celebrity, perhaps,
Younger people, but in my world, I've been photographing people who are sort of the top of their tree.
Yeah.
So I've been photographing politicians, actors, the music industry, and there does seem to be a sell-by date for women.
Right.
And it doesn't seem to apply for men. And my specialism seems to have been photographing older men, and because they have a much longer career in acting and certainly in music as well. So and actually, the women were missing.
So what do you think that's about? I mean, you photograph women, you've probably talked to them about it. What is it, an obsession with youth and beauty? Is it that women lose, in inverted commas, value as they get older?
Well, do you know, I'm beginning to come to a conclusion that the patriarchy is to blame, and I don't want to be banging on about that because it gets a bit boring for everybody. But I actually think we get much more powerful as we get older, and I think we get more interesting. And maybe that's something there's a fear about that, possibly, I would suggest.
Yeah, that's interesting because women, I'm 58, nearly 59. So in a way, we've got to stage where we don't kind of care so much, right?
No, we don't care. And I think I have grown into such a confidence about myself. And that's something that I have met with all the women that I photographed. Maybe I think there's something to be said that we might be the survivors. And a lot of people, lots of women in the acting industry don't make it for very long. So the ones that have survived they all have a kind of grit about them, and I think that comes out in the pictures.
Yes.
And I will still have a voice and say things, and but maybe that's because I'm a bit of a survivor too, for different reasons.
Yeah. So just before we move into that,
yeah,
what makes a good photographer? What makes a good picture? That might be a massive question to answer.
Depends what your subject is. I can only photograph things if there's a sentient being, in my viewfinder. I'm not interested. I can't take a landscape. Bores me. Completely bores me. To me, it's absolutely 100% about connection and relationship, and it's never been about what somebody looks like. It's about who they are, and that's why I gravitated to photographing well-known people, because when I was first moving into photography, I thought, well, how's anyone going to know if I've taken a good picture or not? If you photograph someone who's well known, then everyone's going to say, oh gosh, yeah, you've got Terry Wogan right there. You've caught him. You've got the essence of him. So that's actually why I photograph well-known people. And I had this kind of phenomenal rise from absolutely nowhere. It was literally when my daughter was born. I thought I literally looked at her on the day I was born, and I thought, I want you to know that you can do anything you want with your life, and I'm going to do that photography. And I'd always taken pictures. My grandfather was a very good photographer, and I'd always taken things on film. So I went off in the evening, literally did an evening class in digital photography, started taking pictures, and a few months later I sent some pictures to the National Portrait Gallery, and they stuck them on the wall. And I'd never submitted anything to any gallery ever.
Wow.
So literally within 6 months I was photographing the Prime Minister and rock stars and this, that and the other. So it was very, very phenomenal, and it just came from just wanting to show people how I understood the people that I'd seen around all my life,
Mm.
and how my take on them, and seeing if I could actually find out who they really were and show that in a picture. Somehow it worked.
And are some people more difficult to photograph than others? Are some people kind of like, right, you've got 5 minutes? Or, I mean, how do you deal with
The shortest shoot I've ever done is 3 minutes.
Wow.
So I've had some really, really challenging shoots, and often it's been 5 minutes, but you can do that. But normally I spend longer talking to somebody than I do taking their picture. So we just kind of chat. We might have a cup of tea and talk about this, that, and the other. And then we go into taking just a few pictures, not many. By then you've already done the work. So picture comes at the end.
So the prep is
Yeah.
the talking, getting a feel for someone.
Yeah. Yes.
Them getting, it's about the relationship.
Yeah. It is, and extraordinarily, and this doesn't seem to happen with many other photographers I met. I do often end up in with a sort of friendship relationship with these people frequently, because some sort of connection seems to happen, which is fascinating. Actually, it's almost as if the camera's not there. It's almost a very small part of what I do.
So you're not, I see people that sort of hide behind the camera,
No.
it may be socially awkward, and I totally get that. We all,
Yeah.
But it's not there as a.
No, I think I'm very unusual in that. When I meet with other photographers, I feel that's very much what a lot of them are doing, actually. But I do want to put the camera down and forget about it and just engage with the person. And it's amazing. I've been so fortunate to I've met pretty much everybody I've ever wanted to meet, really. Apart from David Bowie. I was meant to go and photograph David Bowie, and he wasn't very well, it was cancelled. But had I done that, I never would have needed to take another picture ever again. So it's probably a good thing.
You would have thought that's it.
There'd have been nowhere else to go after that.
I mean, you photographed so many. I mean, when I say amazing people, I don't mean that the rest of us that aren't well known aren't amazing, but recognizable names.
Yeah. Yes. And it has been incredible. Often I've just had to pinch myself to think, is this really happening? But I do think a big dose of imposter syndrome is really healthy in those situations. And it brings everything down to a very human level.
So what's your imposter syndrome? Are you sitting there thinking, I don't know what I'm doing? Or
I still think that someone's going to say, actually, we do know it's just you. But I think that's really I think that's very helpful, because you just I think that puts it at a very human level. And yeah, I mean, I've had some extraordinary conversations about, I mean, I've helped people's children with their homework when they've gone to their houses, and just very, very ordinary stuff.
Yes.
Really.
Yes.
Which is good.
Very human.
Good. Yes, completely.
You're not there as a celebrity photographer.
I don't even know what that is. Don't know what that means.
Yeah. So tell me about being a survivor, because you've had a big story, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, and it's really now that it's really been sort of through my 40s and on to now that I've kind of really understood that. But yes, I suppose I have. In fact, my GP said to me once, he said, do you know, I think you're the unluckiest person I've ever known. Which was sort of quite insulting, but actually, in a way, I think I'm probably one of the luckiest as well. So it's hard to understand it. But yes, I spent so much of my life dealing with health. I mean, I was very premature. I don't know if that's anything to do with how things have turned out, but it was in the 60s. I was born in 68. So I spent the first few months of my life in an incubator. And back in those days, there was very little human contact, only for medical procedures. And in fact, my mother didn't. I mean, I was there for about 3 months, and I don't think I was held by my mother or picked up for months. So that was not a great start. And then when I was 12, I had a heart infection that meant I had a stroke, a major stroke. And I spent 3 months again in hospital, much of that time in intensive care. And that was, I can't, I still try, I go back to that place a lot because it seemed to be the most incredibly formative experience for me. And so I survived all of that, went on, I had 3 children. I rode horses. I did a huge amount of recovering. Much of it I sort of sorted out for myself.
Right.
Actually. But then in my 40s, the world of endocrinology hits me head on, and it was found I had something called Cushing's disease, which is when you produce far too much cortisol, which is an essential steroid. I had 60 times more than I needed. Which was having huge adverse effects on me. So as a result of that, I had pituitary surgery. I've only got half a pituitary. I had my adrenal glands removed, which are essential for our survival. So now I live in a situation where I'm having to replace essential steroids to stay alive. And then a few years after that, in my mid-40s, my heart condition that I had when I was 12 came back to haunt me, and I went into heart failure, back to hospital, more intensive care, and major heart surgery. Wow. So all of that was a huge navigation to deal with, and something I've been processing and trying to work with ever since. And I've used my photography and my creativity and the way I connect with people have been absolutely critical, I think, in how I've coped and survived with all of that.
I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, and I find it difficult. I find it very difficult. Well, I don't know. I'm beginning to be okay with it, but for a long time, it's been very difficult to actually tell people that's what happened to me because it's too much. People get a bit overwhelmed. They don't know what to say. I almost think they don't believe me because it's that doesn't, it's such a catalogue of stuff. Maybe it's interrelated. It's very difficult retrospectively to get. Can't really diagnose things backwards and link them up very easily. But yeah.
So you feel it's overwhelming for people to hear it.
Yeah.
I mean, I read a piece where you're talking about Cushing's and then finding an inverted commas cure or through horses.
Yes. Yeah, I think horses have been amazing. I mean, when I was in hospital when I was 12, I was literally lying there in intensive care, and I was promised a horse when I recovered. Now, and there was no question that I wasn't going to recover in my mind. I had to get out of hospital and get my horse, which I did get. And I've had horses in my life ever since. Although I think I had a university gap 3 years when I didn't have one. But yeah, the horses. I mean, my diagnosis of Cushing's came about because of my horses. Yeah. Cushing's is really rare in human beings. It's like 1 in a million, maybe 2 in a million people have it. And it's quite common in horses, quite common in dogs. Different symptoms, but really common. And my most beautiful, beautiful horse, who I just loved, died. She'd had Cushing's. And I was, I wanted to find out more about what this terrible disease was, this illness that had taken my horse away from me. So I kind of did the Google thing and read about it. And I saw people get it too. So I looked at that and I thought, hang on a minute, that makes sense of everything I've been experiencing for the last few years that no one's ever really been able to work out. That a few things are falling into place. So I went to my GP. And I live in rural Dorset. I had a lovely, lovely GP. She had a horse as well. And I said, this is a bit strange, but I think I've got this thing that my horse had. And she was lovely. She kind of laughed at me and said, well, I'm about to retire. And I have never in my whole experience had a person with Cushing's. And she kind of humored me. And she said, well, okay, we'll get you tested. And these results came back, and she rang me up and she said, well, you'll never guess, but it kind of looks quite likely. And to actually get a full diagnosis, I had to be admitted to hospital for a whole week and have a whole load of tests. But if it wasn't for my horse, I don't actually think I'd be here.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
So what a stunning thing to find out. I mean, how interesting is it that you think, I think I've got what my horse has?
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, I did a radio interview about it afterwards, and people were ringing in, and someone said, "Oh, my horse has got Cushing's. Do you think I can catch it from her?" No, I definitely didn't catch it from the horse.
No, you just recognize the symptom.
Just recognize it. Yeah.
So is it like trying to I mean, this might be a difficult question to answer. Is it unraveling a ball of string so that you see the connections and you think, okay, I think it all started because I was a sickly baby and in a incubator, or is that just going? Is that just a hide into nothing?
I I I think I don't know how they're linked, but I think all of those things are very significant things to have had in your life,
Yeah.
actually.
Yes.
And I mean, we live a rural lifestyle here. Used to have a lot of sheep. The sheep that were bottle raised and weren't raised by their parents, and that were put in ice by their mothers and were put in isolation. It's a very unnatural thing to do to them.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they were sometimes a little bit odd.
Well, they were a bit kind of, they had attachment issues.
Yeah, they definitely did. Yes.
They were
Yes.
sort of breastfed, as it were.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't. They were bottle fed, and they didn't have the normal mammal connection. So I think if you do that I mean, things are different now. Things are
Yeah.
different now. There's
Yeah.
kangaroo care and all of that sort of business going on. But that didn't happen then.
And is it true that little lammies without their mummies sort of attached to humans? So they follow
Oh,
trot,
completely. Yes,
they
yes.
trot around
In
behind
fact,
you.
we've had sheep that would mow you down as fully grown rams if they saw you, because they'd run over to come and get their next bottle, forgetting that they're 2 years old. Yeah.
That's so funny. And when you had your children, I mean, were you worried that they would be sick, or did you kind of?
No, no, actually, I think I was a very confident, very intuitive mother.
Mm.
And I carried them around all the time. I didn't put them down. They slept next to me. All of that came very naturally. I didn't really read any books because I sort of believed that it was within me to know how to nurture them.
Yeah.
It was all very instinctive. So I think if anything, I've probably had the opposite. I've gone to the other extreme with my own children, and been just, I like to think I was there for them constantly when they were very small.
Yes. So the connection with the survivor, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because obviously you've spent a lot of time in and out of hospitals.
Yeah.
Your body, bless it, for all sorts of reasons, we don't know exactly why, it isn't 100%, what would be the word, healthy, reliable, trustworthy.
Well, I think it's incredibly reliable, and
Okay.
I've got the resilience that most people have not got, and
Yes.
I think most people would have been sort of wiped out a long time ago. So
I,
I'm really proud of my body
yeah.
and what it's done, actually, and how it's coped with all of that.
Yes.
I don't actually have any negativity about my body at all because of what's happened to me health wise.
And do you think when you're talking about the sort of the women that you're photographing for the exhibition, and just generally you're talking about sort of visibility, surviving,
Yeah.
is that part of a link for you? Is there something in that you feel, well, actually my
Yeah.
body hasn't let me down. It's actually fought really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we can all be really proud of who we are by the time we're 50 or whatever. Yeah, so I think I see that in them, and I think I see that in the way that I've photographed them looking really strong and determined and having a future.
Yes.
Absolutely. That we're not done. We're not over at all. It's only the good bits are just beginning.
Yes. Talk about the visibilities. I hear a lot of women of our age, 50s, 60s, saying, I feel invisible.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I haven't felt that, and I don't feel that. But
Mm.
I'm interested in that. Have you?
I am really interested. I don't particularly understand it either. Um, but maybe that's why I want to do this, because I disagree with it. I completely disagree with it. And people say that I don't know. Is it a perception of ourselves?
Well, my question I always ask people is, when you say I feel invisible, the question I always want to think about is invisible to who?
Yeah.
Because if when we talk about visibility and invisibility, there's a sense of that there's a gaze from somewhere else. So
Mm.
what gaze is that?
I suppose things change when you get, beyond. Do you know, I don't particularly even understand what menopause is either. That's the funny thing, because it's almost past me. I think I've had such bigger things to worry about
Yes.
that it's barely touched me at all, and I've never felt any of the things that other women talk about. So maybe maybe I'm not the right person to talk to on that one.
But yes, I mean, I think part of it is a male gaze. I,
Yes.
I think that's part of what people are saying, but not all of it. Part of it may be, as you're saying, career-wise. So for actors,
Yeah. Yeah.
seems to be longevity for men in a way that, I think you go from being the young love interest to being the mother or the granny.
Yeah, exactly. You're no longer the central role. You're cast as the mother or the wife or the yeah. Um, and I think that's a huge injustice, because and I often, I mean, I think, well, certainly in my family, I'm the one that buys the theatre tickets and the cinema tickets, and you look at what, think, well, what should we go and see? And well, there's nobody, there are no characters representing me.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit bored by some of the stuff that that I'm seeing, because I think we at our sort of age are fascinating, and we've become such fascinating people, and we're the ones that kind of hold the world together at times. And
Yes.
I want that to be written about, and I want to see those stories. Um,
Hmm.
I think that's the issue for me. Yeah, I mean, where are we on in films? Where
Well,
are
I
we?
don't know. I was watching, Netflix came up with something the other day, and I thought it's just full of men. It's just,
Mm, yeah,
it's just a sort of action thing full of men.
yes. Well, I
And I
think,
was actually, I'm just not that interested in watching it. Something's
yeah.
happening. It feels quite revolutionary. It's not that I'm angry. I'm just not interested.
Well, I was sort of sent on the trajectory of doing the Visible Women project, because there was a campaign called the Acting Your Age campaign that was started by
Mm.
someone called Nikki Clark. And she drew together some fascinating statistics about how many, I think, forgive me if I'm quoting this wrong, but I think um, something like, is it I think it was like 9% of people couldn't name more than 20 female actors over the age of 45.
Really?
Yeah. And because when I've been talking to people about, I might have got that wrong, I'm sorry, but when I've been talking to people about this project about older women in the acting industry, they say, oh yes, Judi Dench,
I know.
that's the only person they can
Yeah.
name.
And Helen Mirren, and that's
Helen Mirren. They can't. And then you start talking about other people, and it's like you have to say, well, they were in this, this, and this, because they can't. They haven't even got it in their heads. Or they
no.
say things like, "Oh yes, so and so, yes. Whatever happened to her?" It's as if,
So she's disappeared or something.
yes, I've decided, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. But it's they're not being given the roles,
Yeah.
or very few of them are.
How were reactions to the exhibition? How did people find?
At quite, I mean, I had some very interesting conversations with people there,
Yeah.
going around looking at the pictures and kind of reflecting on their own visibility in their own lives. Battersea Arts Centre have been incredible. They've asked me to go back next year. Hopefully by then I'll have 10 more women on the wall. So it's become a very ongoing thing. It's been really well received, actually. Very encouraging.
And
Yeah.
this is from you picking up a camera
Yeah.
all those years ago.
Hmm.
No training. I don't know
No.
how people train, but
No, but you can go to university and stuff, but I taught myself really. Yeah.
yeah. And you think I want to go and photograph people?
It was more I want to go meet these people and
Okay.
I want to capture them. Somehow I want to find a little bit of them and show it to everyone else. That's what's behind it. And it's just the camera is how I've done it.
And when you look at the photographs you take, are you
Mm.
critical, or are you able to look at them and go, yeah, I think I've
Um,
done a good job there. I think I have got Tamsin Hathwaite. Or
I know when I've got the right one. I absolutely know. And that's a real gut feeling. And you know when you've taken it, when it's you there's definitely something that happens during a shoot when it's going right and you know you're going in the right direction and then you know you've got it.
so you have that feeling.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's a,
How, yes, carry on. Sorry.
and
Yeah.
I get really excited when I look at the picture and I know which one that is. Hopefully they agree with me as well.
And do you have to do you do touching up and all that, or are you basically not?
Very, very minimal, because I think that's kind of cheating in a way. We do little bits here and there, but not very much. I don't think you shouldn't need to.
So it's an exciting process.
Yeah, it is exciting. It still excites me. I have to do it. I just have to do it. I love doing it, and I just love meeting people and just trying to get a bit of them and show it to everyone else.
And so without which would be mercenary, how, I mean, do you sell your photographs?
Yeah, I sell them. Yeah, I do. I sell my pictures and do commissions. I've done books. I'm doing a big commission at the moment for a hospital that's having a massive rebuild, and I've been commissioned to photograph people who've been through ICU and critical care and telling their
Wow,
stories, and that's because of my experience. So that's why I'm doing that. So yeah, um,
that's an
that
amazing thing to do.
yeah, and that's turning into something that's quite it's been very difficult actually, and hopefully it's leading on to lots of good stuff that I'll come back to talk to you about
Well,
next time.
it's the difficulty being it's a painful journey for people.
Yes, they've all been volunteers and they've come forward willingly,
Yes.
and it's about telling their story, and it's not about them as a patient, it's about them as people and their lives. I mean, they've obviously all had a positive experience of critical care and ICU, but it's drawing on who they are and photographing them away from the hospital, doing something that's really important to them. I've actually taken a picture of myself for that one. I'm in the exhibition.
And I think this is really very moving because
Mm.
obviously I imagine people are numbers. They've got to be numbers because I imagine ICU is pretty overwhelmed, and nurses and doctors have got to get you okay and get you out.
Yeah.
We don't see the back. We don't really know their backstories.
No, but I think that's the thing for people when you come out of that thing and you're sort of you're kind of processed out of it, and then suddenly and the rest of the world's thinking, gosh, that's amazing, you're home and isn't that wonderful, but you're having to go through what's happened to you, and it's huge. It's a really difficult thing. um, and it's interesting meeting these people. We all talk about the same thing. We all talk about we wanted fresh air and we wanted, to be outside, and we didn't like all that horror, that beeping noise that goes on and on and on all the time. So it's been really beneficial to actually meet with people who've had the same experience, and we all feel like we're in isolation, but we're not. There's a community and a connection between us. So I hope that's going to turn into something.
Oh, I think that sounds amazing.
Mm.
I mean, it's not the same thing, but my daughter had appendicitis and we had to go into the hospital. And obviously it's not in ICU, so you're not in isolation, but there was something very communal about it. I can see that you could get completely institutionalized.
Oh, you do. And it's, I mean, I've never been in a prison, but I think it's fairly similar because you go in, they take your clothes away, your number, you have a number, you have a record, and your identity is removed.
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
And
I stayed with her, obviously, because she was a minor. I have
yeah,
no idea if it was sunny, cold, rain,
no,
no idea
no,
what the weather was.
no. You probably no windows.
No windows. I mean, it could the apocalypse. I mean, I totally get the
Yes,
beginning of 28 days later when he wakes up and the entire London's had a zombie apocalypse
yes,
and he
yeah,
doesn't know because I had no idea what was going on outside. But then everything, food appeared, doctors appeared,
yeah,
cleaners appeared, and in a way, I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to think about anything. I didn't have to clean anything. I didn't have to do any laundry. I didn't have to make any food.
yeah.
I
And
don't
you have a tiny amount of possessions which become incredibly important. If somebody moves your slippers, it's all these things become so significant to you. Um,
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. I think
mm.
that's really fascinating to do that project. So you're
So,
really mixing
but
things up with what you're doing. Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's all about the sort of the humanity, I think, and all patients are people, and we need to remember that. And actually, all people probably are going to end up being a patient at some time in their life.
Yeah.
It happens to all of us. Just happens to some of us in an extreme.
So the doctor, to go back to again, the doctor said you're the unluckiest person I know, but
Yeah.
you felt that that's not.
I don't think that's true. No, I don't think that's true. I think I've been incredibly fortunate actually. I've had some amazing people. I've had a creativity that's taken me to other places and helped me to understand. I've had horses that have been the most wonderful, powerful, healing creatures.
Mm.
And I've gone all over the world photographing horses and exploring that. I did a book about horses, and it was an amazing passport to meet some wonderful people.
You spent some time with Monty Roberts.
I did. He actually came and stayed at afterwards. He came to stay at my house here, which
Did
is
he?
yeah, which is quite interesting. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Mm.
And
And again, that was I went to take his picture.
yes,
He was meant to only be there for an hour, stayed for days and days and days, and he came back and stayed here. I mean, that's kind of not normal for a photographer, particularly.
no,
Uh,
I don't think that is. They normally go and take the pictures and leave.
mm,
He came and
um,
stayed. Did he do some horse whispering with your
he
horses?
did. He saw my horses. Yes, yeah.
And did they tell them that
So
did they tell him that they love you and they're happy and it's all good to go?
I'm not sure they did. They said. I hope they said that, but I don't think it's that sort of whispering
I
actually.
know. I know. How are you, Dobbin?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
actually, I'm a bit
No,
upset about the lack of apples.
yeah. No, because that was pretty amazing. And he was somebody that I'd seen on television years and years before, and never thought I'd be having breakfast with him in my kitchen.
I thought Chris
So
reminds.
I'd say I'm a pretty fortunate person actually to have had that sort of stuff in my life.
And I also read somewhere when your daughter went to uni, you said to her, "You're the main character in your life, not just the
No,
bystander."
she says that to me.
She says that to you.
He says that to me. That's our kind of joke. As she's been going into her adulthood, she always says that. Mum, you've got to remember you're the main character in your life. We're not bystanders. I think that's so true, and I love her confidence, and I love that she thinks that, and it's probably quite different to what we thought at that age.
Yeah.
We weren't given that narrative.
No, we weren't. And that's just not to do with, yeah, we weren't because our parents didn't probably feel that. They probably didn't have that in their lives.
No, but I think being the main character doesn't mean it's all like me all the time. No. I think a lot of that's about having responsibility for who we are, and we need to understand who we are. But yeah, we are, we're the main characters. We're in our own, the middle, right central to our own plot, and I think that's part of the Visible Women project. It's about women being their main characters and not being on the sidelines.
And not being silenced. Thank you so much. So where can people find you?
You can find me at lucysewell.com.
That's S-W. Let's just spell out Sewill. So they
yes, S-E, yeah, that's right. So you can find me there. And Visible Women is going to go into different locations. I'm going to be doing quite a few talks. Go to my website and find where it's going to be. Yeah, so onwards and upwards.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on today. It's been fascinating.
No, thank you. Thank you. Lovely to talk to you.